Okay, so today we're doing Canto 2, Chapter 2, Text 13. Hey, this is the meditation that begins with the lotus feet. So, let's look at the verse first. Eka, Eka Shaha, which means one by one. Eka, of course, is one. And you have this compound, Eka, Eka, Eka Shaha, means one by one. Angani, the limbs, Diya, with intelligence, Anubhava Yet, one should meditate upon. It really means like to form an image in one's mind, like to form, which of course you can translate. May I just give you one example of how Sanskrit is very interesting. Anubhava Yet. Anu means to follow, like a rupanuga. Anuga, going along with someone, following. Anuga means a follower. So anu is a prefix here, and then bhavayet, it's the basic Sanskrit verb to be, essere, which is so here bhavayet is the causative optative. Any questions? That's clear enough. So again, Sanskrit has a causative form, which means to cause something to happen. Like, for example, if you say karoti, that means he does or she does. If you say karyati, it means they cause someone to do, to cause someone to do something. Or, for example, in this case, bhavati means he, she, or it exists or is. And then bhavyati means to cause something to exist. And Krishna actually plays with these. I mean, Sanskrit has all these really interesting things, and Krishna really takes advantage of it in the Gita. If you know Sanskrit, he does all kinds of things with these linguistic possibilities. And so here, in this case, anu bhavayet, bhavayati, which would mean he or she causes to do, causes to be. But bhavayet means that one should do that. One should cause something to exist. That's the optative. You should cause it to be. And so we know from the word bhava, of course, obviously from the same root, that the word bhava can mean existence in general, but it can also mean a mental state of existence, as in the different bhavas in bhakti yoga. So if you're talking about it in the case of bhavas in bhakti yoga, it means emotional states or conscious states of being. But still, the root meaning is existence, being. And so in this case, taking bhava, or to here mean like a certain conscious state of being, because if you think about it, Sanskrit, if you just by going to the grammar, you can find our whole philosophy. So, because if you think about it, since we're spirit souls and we're conscious beings, therefore, in a sense, the essence of our existence, the way that we ourselves are aware of our own existence, is by our conscious states. And so therefore, because that's the essence of who we are, is we are, let's say, we exist as states of consciousness in a sense. And so here it said that anubhavayet, that it's talking about angani. Anga means a limb of the body. It can mean different things, but it can also mean a limb, or the body itself, or a part of the body is an anga. Just like in that famous Brahma Samhita verse, angani jasya sakalendriya, which means angani is the plural. This is a neuter plural, angani. So the limbs, yasya, of whom? I'll just give you a little. The Brahma Samhita is just, in terms of Sanskrit composition, it's just like, it's beyond amazing. So angani jasya means the limbs of whom? And sakala indriya, sakala means all the senses, vritti, the functions, manti, possess. So the limbs of whom possess the functions of all the senses. But it's interesting, if you know Sanskrit, then as soon as you hear the word jasya, you know that that's the first of all, it's a dependent clause, the limbs of whom, and it's going to be completed by the word tam. Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. So as soon as you see the word Yasya, you know we're talking about Govinda. Anyway, little enticement to learn more Sanskrit.
Amazing.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in Sanskrit composition. It's a very sophisticated language and it's super self-conscious. In other words, Sanskrit in general, or the people that compose these beautiful hymns, bless you, they're completely aware of all these possibilities and they're really using all these features of the language to create amazing compositions. So here, maybe going back to this verse, so one by one, Angani, the limbs, meaning of obviously of Krishna, Diya, with consciousness or with intelligence. In other words, it's not just sort of like a deer in the headlights. It's not just, okay, just look at it, meditate on it, but Diya, you have to be intelligent. You have to know what you're doing. You have to know what you're seeing. So Angani, Ekaika Eka Shaha, one by one, Angani, the limbs, Diya, with intelligence, Anubhava Yet. One should continuously cause to exist in your mind. And that's what the word Diya, in other words, so it's translated meditate on. Literally, one should continuously cause them, these limbs, to exist in your mind or to be in your mind. And of course, since remembering Krishna is not different from Krishna, Krishna's form literally is in your mind. That's spiritual ontology. So that's also another thing that's going on here. Ekaika Shongani Dhyanu Bhavayet Padadi, beginning with the feet. I think someone here once made that point. But it says here, beginning, Adi means first. It's like Adi Purusha, the original person, also means the first. So the first one is the feet. And as I've explained many times, um, the when you put Adi at the in a compound after another word, it means a very well-known set of things, a well-known group whose first member is Adi, whose first member is Pada. So if you say Pada, the feet, then the obvious group of things or set of things that begins with Pada is the Lord's body, from the feet to the head. Just like when you say Janma Dhyasya, like in the Bhagavatam or Brahma Sutras, it means the well-known group whose first member is Janma. And the very well-known group whose first member is Janma, Sthiti, Pralaya, birth, maintenance, and then destruction. And that's also, of course, in Vedanta Sutra, Janma Dhyasya Jadaha. So that's how the word Adi functions. Adi is the Sanskrit word for etc. And so just like in English, if you say, let's say all these big cities like New York, etc., and also you think, okay, Chicago, Los Angeles, maybe Atlanta. And so that's just the Sanskrit, etc. Although in Sanskrit it makes more sense because it means a group whose first member is this. So here, Padadi, what's the well-known set of things whose first member is Pada? Well, all the limbs of the body, the feet going up to the head. So Padadi Yavat Hasitam, and Yavat means from the feet up to, Yavat up to, Hasitam, smiling face, Gada Britaha. And we're talking about the body of Gada Brit, which is just a direct way of saying Gada Dhara. So Dhara or Brit is the same thing. In fact, we have English, well, in Sanskrit, if you want to pronounce it properly, I become assimilated, but the actual pronunciation would be Bert. It would be pronounced just like the English name Bert, B-U-R-T, like Burt Reynolds. So in the English name Bert, that's a vowel R. The vowel is not the U. It's not Burt. It's not Burt. It's Bert. And so in the English name Bert, the vowel is the R, although English spelling is totally ignorant of phonetics. So, but phonetically, the vowel is the R, Bert. And that's what this is actually, Gada Bert, which sounds funny because no one pronounces it that way. And of course, it's gadadhara, bearing. And we have the English word bear, like to bear something, to hold it. That's directly from Sanskrit. From this. So, padadiyavad hasitam, so the smiling face of Gadavert. And then, going to the next page, jitam jitam. So literally conquered, conquered, or one, W-O-N, one. In other words, once you've accomplished that, that's how, what it means is, okay, once you've won that, once you've conquered that, once you've mastered that, jitam, jitam. In other words, as you're going up the body of the Lord, as soon as you've mastered or, conquered that meditation, jitam, jitam, stanam apoya, then that place leaving, giving up. I mean, this apoya, anyone remember where this word appears in a very famous verse? Apoya? Not exactly that verse.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's what does Krishna say? Sarvasya chahamriti sannivishto.
Apohanam.
Yeah, matat smritir jnana apohanam cha.
Yeah.
So apohanam, literally, anyway, uhanam comes from the verb va, to carry, and apa means away. When something is carried away, in other words, it's lost. It's literally carried away. So apohya means giving that up, like leaving that. So jitam, as you conquer each level of meditation, then giving that up, dharayet, one should then dharayet, like dharana, one should then secure or hold or param, higher. That's literally what it means. So there's jitam, as you conquer each stage, then param, higher. You're going in your meditation on the Lord's body. Parang, shudyati dir, yata. So yata means in which way, so that yata means so that dear, the consciousness is shudyati, purified by which meditation, So you repeat things in Sanskrit, so that's like saying by each meditation. In other words, what this means is that, let's say you're meditating on the feet, or you're meditating on the ankles or the knees or whatever, then you go param, higher and higher, as at each level you become purified. In other words, you've achieved the purification which comes from that specific meditation on that limb of the body.
Yeah.
So is that clear?
It is.
So yeah, I think anyway, I always put in my little plug for learning some Sanskrit, but it's really, it opens up a new world of Shastra. When you know what it's actually saying, it's for me, it's just like a whole new world opens up. So
Can I?
Yes.
You said that the anubhavayet, the bhava, it means to
Cause
be.
to be.
Cause, and it comes from the root to be.
Yeah.
So it's like bhumanda.
Yes. Because bhu means being or existence, and the most immediate existence for all of us is the planet we're on.
So bhumandala means the mandala where we exist.
Yeah.
Where we are.
Yeah.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Piacere tutto mio. So anyway, so this is a beautiful verse, and now we'll chant it. Now that you have a little more idea of what it actually means. Ekaika shongani dhyanubhavayet. Ekaika shongani dhyanubhavayet. Ekaika shongani dhyanubhavayet. Ekaika shongani dhyanubhavayet. Padadiyavat dasitam gadabrata gadadiyavat. Actually, I didn't pronounce that first word right. It's actually padadi. They're both long. which is hard for, let's say, people you speaking English, because we generally don't start a word with two long syllables. We either accent the first or the second syllable. So devotees always have trouble with two long syllables, but it's actually padadi. So there's a tendency to say, like, typically an American speaker will say something like padadi or padadi or something, but it's actually padadi. So padadi javadhasitam gadabrata.
Padadiya Tadgitam Gadhabrita
Jitang jitang sthanam apohya dharayet.
Jitam Jitam Sthanam Apoya Dharayat
Jitang jitang sthanam apohya dharayet.
Jitam Jitam Sthanam Apoya Dharayat
Parang parang shuddhati dhir jata jata.
Param Param Shuddhyati Dhir Jata Jata
Parang parang shuddhati dhir jata jata.
Param Param Shuddhyati Dhir Jata Jata.
So, anyone want to try their luck on this one?
Ekaika Shungani Dhyanubhavayat
Ekaika shangani dhyanubhavayet.
Pada Padadiyavattasitam Gadabritam
Padadijavadhasitam gadabratam.
Jitam Jitam Sthanam Apoya Dharayet
Jitang jitang sthanam apoyatarayet.
Param Param Shuddhyati Dhiryata Jata
Parang parang shuddhati dhir jata jata. Very good. Anyone else? Ekaika shangani dhyanubhavayet. Padadijavadhasitam gadabratam. Jitam jitam sthanam apoyadarayet. Parang parang shuddhati dhirjata. So, Prabhupada's translation. The process of meditation should begin from the lotus feet of the Lord and progress to his smiling face. The meditation should be concentrated upon the lotus feet and the calves and the thighs, and in this way higher and higher. The more the mind becomes fixed upon the different parts of the limbs, one after another, the more the intelligence becomes purified. And just one comment, then I'll read the purport. And that is, there's great emphasis here on the idea that, like, to go in order, one after the other. And that's all these repetitions. Ekaika show is a repetition. Eka, eka shaha. And then we have jitang, jitang, parang, parang, jata, jata. So all these things are emphasizing like one after the other in order. So Prabhupada's purport. The process of meditation is recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam. The process of meditation recommended in the Srimad Bhagavatam is not to fix one's attention on something impersonal or void. The meditation should concentrate on the person of the Supreme Godhead, either in his Virat Rupa, the gigantic universal form, or in his Satchidananda Vigraha, as described in the scriptures. There are authorized descriptions of Vishnu forms, and there are authorized representations of deities in the temples. Thus, one can practice meditating upon the deity, concentrating his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord, and gradually rising higher and higher up to his smiling face. According to the Bhagavata school, the Lord's rasa dancing is the smiling face of the Lord. Since it is recommended in this verse that one should gradually progress from the lotus feet up to the smiling face, we shall not jump at once to understand the Lord's pastimes in the rasa dance. And of course, Prabhupada here is referring to this ignorant practice, which was all around him in India, where people would just jump to the rasa lila. Like, why bother becoming self-realized first. Well, maybe so you won't completely misunderstand the rasa dance. And also, I think to understand, um, Prabhupada is writing at a time or grew up in India where separation between the sexes was so rigid that, I mean, something like the Rasa Leela could actually agitate people. I mean, after the warnings, all the warnings we got about don't jump at the 10th canto, when I actually read it, I was kind of thinking, oh, is that all? Because, we grew up in a very different culture. We grew up in a very different culture. But in the culture that Prabhupada grew up in, people really, it's like, it was a lot for them to take in. So, I mean, it doesn't mean we should throw caution to the winds, as they say, but it is a point that there are different cultures and different reactions to the 10th canto. So, uh, since it is recommended in this verse that one should gradually progress from the lotus feet up to the smiling face, we shall not jump at once to understand the Lord's pastimes in the rasa dance. It is better to practice concentrating our attention by offering flowers and tulsi to the lotus feet of the Lord. In this way, we gradually become purified by the archana process. We dress the Lord, bathe him, etc. And all these transcendental activities help us purify our existence. When we reach the higher standard of purification, if we see the smiling face of the Lord or hear the rasa dance pastimes of the Lord, then we can relish his activities. In the Srimad Bhagavatam, therefore, the rasa dance pastimes are delineated in the 10th canto, chapters 29 through 34. The more one concentrates on the transcendental form of the Lord, either on the lotus feet, the calves, the thighs, or the chest, the more one becomes purified. In this verse, it is clearly stated, the more the intelligence becomes purified, yata yata, which means the more one becomes detached from sense gratification. Our intelligence in the present conditioned state of life is impure due to being engaged in sense gratification. The result of meditation on the transcendental form of the Lord will be manifested by one's detachment from sense gratification. Therefore, the ultimate purpose of meditation is purification of one's intelligence. The result of meditation on the transcendental form of the Lord will be manifested by one's detachment from sense gratification. Those who are too engrossed in sense gratification cannot be allowed to participate in archana or to touch the transcendental form of the Radha, Krishna, or Vishnu deities. For them, it is better to meditate upon the gigantic Virata Rupa of the Lord as recommended in the next verse. The impersonalists and the voidists are therefore recommended to meditate upon the universal uh, um, form of the Lord, whereas the devotees are recommended to meditate on the deity worship in the temple. Because the impersonalists and the voidists are not sufficiently purified in their spiritual activities, archana is not meant for them. Interesting. So, any questions on these points?
Yeah.
Yes.
About sense gratification is the result of meditation on the transcendental form of the Lord will be manifested by one's detachment from sense gratification. So this is usually difficult to explain to the general public.
I don't think so.
For me, that's why I'm asking. How do you explain?
No. I mean, I'd say it's. Yeah, I simply say that uh, if you um, if you are Krishna conscious, that's a higher taste. I mean, it's very simple. I remember when I was at Berkeley, when I was a student around 1968 or something, my older brother was also there. Actually, maybe it was, when did he graduate? Anyway, yeah, maybe early 68. And he was, as we say, going with a girl. They were living together for a year or so. Actually, it was a girl from my class in high school that I knew. And so So then they broke up for whatever reason. After going together for some time, they broke up, and she was kind of devastated. And very soon after they broke up, he met this girl that he eventually married, and so it was kind of like painless for him. And of course we all felt bad for this girl, but it was kind of painless for him. I'm not commenting or condoning anything, but so in other words, if you have a higher taste, or this is a material example, obviously, but if you have a higher taste, then you give up a lower taste. Of course, in the material world, entanglement in a relationship and the bodily concept of life is not really a higher taste. It's just your latest tryst with suffering. Because if I become attached, I must suffer. I must suffer. It's like saying, I'm going to jump in the water, but I won't get wet. Yeah, you will get wet. And it's just, if you touch fire, you get burned. So you cannot, and that's the great foolishness of all of us who are in the material world. We actually think we can beat the system. Like, I can form a material attachment, I can enjoy that material attachment, and I won't then suffer. I mean, really suffer. And that's the cheating, or that's the ignorance. And so the way we stop suffering is not by finding a perfect attachment, but the way we stop suffering is by realizing I can only be happy if I don't become attached to material things. And the only way that's possible, the only way I can actually become detached from material things, is if I'm attached to Krishna. If I don't somehow or other attach myself to Krishna, I will become attached to someone or something in this world, and I will suffer, and I'll just go through the same nonsense again. And so how do I become attached to Krishna? Krishna's given us this beautiful way, which is we become attached to devotional service to Krishna. We have a devotional service that's so important to us, which enthuses us so much. Prabhupada once wrote me a letter and said, the secret of everything is enthusiasm, utsaha, in Sanskrit, that if we're just enthusiastic, spontaneously enthusiastic to do our service, and it's more important to us than anything. Okay, do I have to give up some sense gratification to become empowered to do this service? Then I'll do it, because nothing is more important to me than this service. And that's really the secret of advancement. When my service to Krishna is the most important thing in my life. And that's the higher taste. Actually, the Bhagavad Gita doesn't literally say higher taste. What it literally says is param drishtva, which means seeing something higher.
Seen.
Seeing. Drishtva. Param drishtva. And so, like in my case, I'm fortunate because Krishna has mercifully, with unlimited mercy, giving me the service of trying to complete the this great Bharata project, and it really is a higher taste. Other people can have their own projects, but that really, it has to be such a higher taste for us. We have to be so inspired by our service that whatever it takes, I will do whatever I have to do to offer this service to Krishna, because it's more important to me than anything. There are many things in life that are important to us, that we value, that we cherish, but ultimately our service has to be most important. Service comes first. It's just like if someone has a child and the child is crying, saying hungry, so you say to the mother, why didn't you feed your child? Oh, well, one of my girlfriends called, and we hadn't talked in a while. So we have to have priorities. We have to have priorities. And pure devotional service means that your top priority is, I have to do the service for Krishna. And therefore, as Bhaktivinoda Thakur said, anukulyasya sankalpa, accepting what is favorable for that service, and pratikulyasya varjanam, giving up what is standing in the way of my devotional service. And if one is really prepared to do that, then you come to the point of Vasudeva Sarvam. Krishna is everything to me. And therefore, whatever I have to do to offer this ecstatic service, which Krishna has most mercifully given to me, because as Prabhupada said, devotional service is not different from Krishna. So when Krishna inspires us and gives us a wonderful devotional service, he's giving us himself. Krishna is giving himself to us in the form of that service. And so not to do whatever is favorable for that service is not to accept Krishna. Krishna's knocking at the door and I'm thinking, well, I'm not going to answer it. Or the phone rings, I know that's Krishna on the phone, but I'm going to send that to voicemail. I mean, that's madness. That's what we're doing. If we don't give ourselves to the service that we know Krishna's giving us, then we're just, Krishna's calling and we're sending God to voicemail. And like, I'll listen to that later, Krishna. I'll do that later. So anyway, in my own life, speaking for myself, because who else can I speak for ultimately, especially in this age when everyone does what they want anyway. So speaking for myself, that's what I have to do. I mean, what could be a greater blessing than to be given an ecstatic devotional service that engages your nature, a service that you love, a service that just enthuses you every day? What could be a greater blessing? And what could be a greater foolishness than not to do whatever I have to do to achieve that service? So, Jai Krishna consciousness. Any questions on these points?
What would be a scientific definition of sense gratification?
Okay, engaging your senses for personal gratification, as opposed to engaging your senses to please Krishna. Because when we do things, it's to please someone. I mean, someone's going to get the fruit. The fruit's got to stop somewhere. It's like the fruit is bouncing around and the fruit just has to stop somewhere. And so when the music stops, where's the fruit?
Quando la musica finisce, dov'è il frutto?
And so if you're a serious devotee, when the music stops, the fruit is right in Krishna's hand because you gave it to him. Sense gratification means you hog the fruit. You're a fruit hog, full of hurrah. Anyway, so we should make bumper stickers. Don't be a fruit hog. So we have to offer the fruit to Krishna. Because if you have God-given ability, then what could be a greater blessing that Krishna gave you abilities? He gave you the power to create things. And what could be a greater waste than not to use it? And then when we do use those abilities and something good happens in the world, then we offer to Krishna. It's not like, no, but I'm attached to taking my victory lap or something, No, we have to be, and that's what pure devotional service is. I really want to serve Krishna. And somehow or other, Krishna, it really empowers me. And then when this amazing thing happens in my life, I really offer it all to Krishna. I just give it to Krishna and I walk away from it to do another service. That's love. Otherwise, like a mother gives some food to her child and says, actually, I like that. Give me that. It's just like, take the food back. Okay, Mom.
Mama.
What a mother. So, yeah. So if you are inspired to do a particular service, you are the luckiest person in the world. And you have to act on it because the chance may not come again. And you don't want to be one of those miserable persons who on their deathbed with all their friends, holding tulsi leaves and the tape playing, and you're just thinking of what might have been. Thinking about what might have been, what I could have done, but what my life could have been if I'd seized the opportunity.
Yeah.
So, thank you all very much for your submissive oral reception, as Prabhupada said. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
Jai.
Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai.
Jai.